Namaha. Om Shri Matre 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 Namaha.
वक्रतुण्ड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। ॐ गं गणपतये नमः। ॐ गं गणपतये नमः। ॐ गं गणपतये नमः। ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ
या देवी सर्वभूतेषु वृत्तिरूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः। या देवी सर्वभूतेषु वृत्तिरूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः। या देवी सर्वभूतेषु वृत्तिरूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः। ॐ
Namaste and welcome to Kaivalya Yoga Gurukulam, or KYG as we all know it. It is more like a family now. Thank you so much for being part of this family. Thank you for your blessings, your appreciation, and your continued participation, so that together we send out divine vibrations into the universe, so that any soul that needs spiritual sustenance, yearning for God and divinity, will find meaning, fulfillment. A butterfly that flutters its wings in one side of the planet can affect hundreds of miles away another natural phenomena, such as the depth of our connection. So have no faith that your participation in these sadhanas Every time you open your heart and mind into higher dimensions, seeking love, faith, and divinity, not only are you evolving in your own soul's journey, but inadvertently, you are touching and helping another soul or souls to evolve. That is the beauty and the power of spirituality. So thank you for being part of this satsang. Today we shall continue in that glorious seventh Avarana, or the seventh sheath. So let's go back to the slides. This was where we were, and this is where we are now. The little, it seems tiny, but it's more powerful because it gets more subtle. See, size has its implications in yantra drawings. The bigger things that you see in a yantra are things that are gross, physical, easily accessible, easily understandable. But the tinier it goes, the deeper it goes, more to the center of these yantras, it becomes more subtle, more difficult to grasp. And therefore, even though those 8 triangles seem tinier, they are the doors to the innermost sanctum sanctorum of the Bindu. So in the last class, we studied the 8 triangles. And in the 8 triangles, we came across these 8 Devis, 8 Shaktis, if you will. Just in case I had not made it clear, let me once again reiterate one fact or one important thing that one has to keep in mind at this juncture here, while studying it, while contemplating, while meditating, is that each of these 8 Devis are a collection of all the energies that we have passed through. If we were to categorize all of those energies into 8 that we have covered so far, then they get categorized in these 8 energies. And these 8 further come down to 3, and the 3 comes down to 1. 8, 3, and 1. That is where the last 3 chakras, the last 3 Avaranas gain a special importance. Vashinyai that we came across was control. And there is a part of the body that is controlled, or that is related to each of these deities. And I want to share that with you today and tell you how that journey in spirituality is not in logical steps. It's not a set hierarchy. It is not that I have to first do this Avarana, then I have to go to the next Avarana, then I have to go to the next one, or the first chakra is Mooladhara, and then I have to experience the next chakra and the next chakra. It is not linear. That progress, if you will, cannot be designed by the conscious mind. You and I cannot design it. That is why we call it an act of grace. And therefore, never let yourself be conditioned by the thought that, oh my God, 7th Avarana, I don't know which lifetime I will reach there, because I have to cross the first Avarana and the second and the third and the fourth. We do not know, excuse me, we do not know where we are in our spiritual journey. And therefore it is best not to judge ourselves or to study our own progress or design our own progress card to tell us where we are in spirituality. Where we are really doesn't matter. Who we are is what matters. Who we think we are, who we really are, that is what really matters. So in this Avarana, there is a beautiful path that is shown to us. where when we invoke the energies of this Avarana, all the other Avaranas also become alive and awake in us. So allow me and bear with me. So control is Vashinya. We talked about the idea of control, and the part of the body that it is associated with are the knees. Now, in our evolution, there is one part of our body that is very delicate and yet extremely powerful, and those are the knees. Just think of it. For a baby to walk, for you to walk, for me to walk, yes, we need feet and toes and all of that. But if the knees are not aligned, if the knees are not strong, having feet will be of no use. You may not have feet. Some people unfortunately get their feet amputated, right? But they can still walk because of the strength of the knees. Knees are the crucial point. Whether it is yoga abhyasa, whether it is aerobics, whether it is running, whether it is strengthening, training, anything to do with the body, whether you're a warrior or a priest, whether you're a businessman or a laborer, it doesn't matter. You need the knees. And knees is what gives you control. That is why poetically and colloquially we say, I was so nervous, my knees were shaking. I was so afraid, my knees were shaking. Because knees can shake the very foundations of your confidence. So, Vashinya is connected to the knees. So you offer the knees at the feet of this deity. In other words, you allow her to control. And we'll understand how this can be related in a practice, in a sadhana. That element of control is what we exercise or experience in our everyday life as willpower. Willpower is control, not over somebody else. Forget somebody else. Nobody can ever have control over you. But you can have complete control over you. Nobody can have control over you. Now you might say, what about certain people who do black magic and all of that? All that is an expression of the weakness of your willpower. If you are weak, you allow somebody to control you. You allow somebody to control you. Against your wishes, nobody can control you or influence you. Unfortunately, in our experience, that is not so. That is because Vashinya is not fully awakened in us. We do not have that willpower. We do not have control over ourselves. And therefore, inadvertently, we allow somebody else to have control over us. A simple thing, when we say, oh my gosh, that person irritates me so much. Whenever he speaks, I get angry. Whenever she speaks, I get angry. So somebody else irritates you. Somebody else has power over your moods and feelings, that they can change your moods, that they can change your feelings by simply talking to you or by simply being there. How does that work? It works because you have given them the power to make you angry. You have given them the power to make you feel sorry about yourself. You have given them the power. Don't give them that power. The anger is within us. It doesn't come from outside. And therefore, we have to learn that when you say somebody else, it is somebody else's fault. It is my parents' fault, the youngster says. They are the ones who made me like this. Then don't talk of being a leader, because you cannot. You have to know that you have complete control over yourself. It has always been the case. And that control is understood in the context of all of the other Devis. So it It is not pride. And even if it does come as pride, it is not a sin. As opposed to the other side where you have no control, you say, I don't know anything, and you have a victim mindset. That is a sin, literally, because you're demeaning your own divinity, your inherent divinity. You'd rather have pride. Not pride is good, but you rather have that than low self-esteem. But this control is neither pride nor that. It is the understanding, dhrida nishchayaha, understanding of the willpower. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Santushtaha satatam yogi yatatma dhrida nishchayaha Mayar pitamano buddhi yoga yomad bhakta same priyaha. Among all the devotees, I like the one who is steadfast in his devotion, in his equanimity. Dhrida nishchaya means willpower. Once you make up your mind, you stick to it. You learn it, you modify, but you don't go back on it. Think about that. So, willpower, that ability to control, comes from the strength in your knees. Vashinya, the Vashinya Shakti, the Vashikarana Shakti, first helps you to control yourself. When you control yourself, then automatically everyone listens to you, and it appears that you have control over others, but it is not so. You simply have control over yourselves, and that magnetism, that personality that you develop because of self-control appeals to others, and they begin to listen to you, they begin to emulate you, they begin to use you as a role model. You can see that in your children. That is Vashinya. So willpower. Kameshwarya, desire. Desire, when you get a thought, when you get a desire, let us say you get a desire to eat something, then what do? You get up and walk towards that, towards the kitchen. You go towards the refrigerator, or you go towards the kitchen counter, or you open the kitchen cabinet looking for some snacks. Desire and feet go together. So after the knees come the feet. Even though feet are always on the ground, they will not know when to walk. The knees give them the control. And then when desire gives them the direction to go, where to go. So feet is connected with desire. That is why in yogasanas, in meditation, in Padmasana, in the lotus pose, what do? You take the feet that normally tends to follow desires. You take, assuming this is the feet, right? You take it and turn it upwards so it doesn't go anywhere. So you fold it up and put it on your lap like this. You sit in Padmasana. So when you sit like this, you're telling your feet, no, this is not the time for desires. This is the time to go beyond, right? So the feet being like this means I can get up and walk. So feet are connected to desire. But what is that desire energy that we talked yesterday about? It is not wanting. It is not craving. Craving and wanting are not desires. Craving and wanting comes from a very the mindset which is steeped in low esteem, self-esteem, low self-esteem. That's where craving comes, or wanting comes. Because when you want and crave, then you're focused on the lack of manifestation. But here, it is pure manifestation. Kameshwarya is the energy of manifestation, just as Vashinya is the energy of willpower in our everyday life. If you want to experience the energy of Kameshwari, if you want to experience the energy of Vashini, willpower, manifestation. Whenever something manifests in your home, even if you order it in Amazon and it gets delivered home, remember it is Kameshwari. The fact that you have that $10 in your pocket, or that nowadays you don't really carry cash, maybe you do, maybe you don't, or you have the $10 in your credit card, which helps you to buy, is the energy of Kameshwari. It is because of that blessing and that energy that object manifests in your life. That talent manifests in your life. That knowledge or degree or graduation that you do, education manifests in your life. Any form of manifestation is Kameshwari. And therefore it is said, be very careful what you ask her, because she only says Tathastu, so be it, so be it, so be it. This is the divine consciousness, the Kalpa Vriksha, the wish-fulfilling tree. If you go and tell her, as the joke goes, one person asked God, I want to count a lot of money in my life. I want to I want to keep counting money for hours together. I want to see so much money in my hand all the time. It is said that he got a job as a bank teller, and he remained a bank teller for the rest of his life. Because as a bank teller, he had the chance to count as much money as he wanted. So when you want, you are always kept wanting. So with Kameshwari, that is why affirmations are so powerful. We are studying about it, and we'll talk about it more in the Akasha element in the Kaivalya Marga classes that we are studying now. For those of you who are following both, these are all interlinked subjects. It is the importance of the words. It is the importance of that desire, the way we channel that desire as it manifests in our mind. Allow the object to manifest. Kameshwari. So manifestation is Kameshwari's energy. Whatever manifests in your life, know that it is Kameshwari's energy. And therefore you accept it with joy. Modinya, intoxication, joy, a bliss of its own kind. So engrossing, you become oblivious of everything else. It is said, that I think it was a saint by name Gorakhumbar. Gorakhumbar was in Maharashtra, and if he would sing Vithala song, he would forget everything in the joy of that chanting. And he would get so intoxicated, he wouldn't know what he was doing. And it is said that he was a potter, so he would be stepping on the mud in order to make clay. And he actually trampled upon his own baby because he was completely unaware as he was chanting the name of Vithala. That story, of course, has a happy ending where Vithala graced and the baby comes back to life. But that bliss, that intoxication, is of a completely different kind. No sensual experiences can get you anywhere closer to that kind of a joy. So Modinya, the part of the body that is associated with that are the palms. A small simple example, when you're happy, when a child is happy, the first thing you do is clap. You clap in joy. You say, oh my God, this is fantastic. And your hands explain. Your hands immediately reveal your mood, especially joy, especially when you're happy. You wave, you clap, right? So this hand and especially palms become the mode of expression of that energy. So Modinya is the palms. That is why in order to channelize that supreme bliss and hold it there, we do mudras in yoga. We studied that as part of the Vayu element in the Kaivalya Marga classes. You see, each of these are subjects of its own. But in those mudras, what you do is you channelize the joy. You learn to hold it for longer periods, experience that joy. So it is again movement of the palms because they control the prana in the body. And Modini expresses herself beautifully and allows joy to permeate every cell, every fiber of your being. Most of us would have experienced that, maybe in a fleeting moment or a few moments, but we have all experienced this kind of joy, which was inexplicable. We may not have known when and how that could have happened, but there are times it would have happened, and you can relate to that. And imagine that a glimpse of that gave you so much that you still have it in your memory, imagine what if you can go there every time you need to. Imagine if that was longer. How much more powerful would that be? So modini and joy. That joy gives you the sense of abundance. Abundance is not a matter of belief that you have to somehow superimpose upon yourself. I know people ask me, how do I experience abundance? But I have bills to pay. I have certain things lacking. I'm struggling in my life. When you're talking of abundance, maybe you have saved a lot of money. And I find it difficult to explain. I still do. But that abundance we are talking about is not anything to do with this materialism. It could do. It could eventually manifest. But that joy that you experience there in that dimension is so fulfilling that you stop needing anything. Food, water, clothes, nothing you will need, because you're already completely content. Completely content. And that joy overflowing constantly like waves, never ending, coming and filling every fiber of your being. It just pours wave after waves. So that kind of joy gives you the experience of what is abundance. Once you experience that, it has to be an experience. It is not a matter of belief. Once it becomes your first-hand experience, then abundance will manifest in your everyday life. First of all, you'll stop chasing other things. That is why when this is connected to desire, the craving is lost. Only things will manifest. Because Kameshwari is manifesting it. You don't stand in the way at all. And she manifests it for her own pleasure. And therefore it happens. So palms are that part of the body where Modini expresses herself. That is why in Sanatana Dharma, in the ancient culture, we are very careful of what we do with our palms. Even in Baba's ashrams, even in Baba's presence and all of that, he would always say, no unnecessarily touching anyone. No, be very careful what you do with your palms, where you place your palms and so on. That is why temples were very clean, and the ashrams were very clean, so that you can place your palms on the floor or wherever, and you don't dirty them, because it's a divine place, just like feet are, with Kameshwari and Modini all residing latently in that part of the body. So Modini expresses herself as joy through the palms. So we do something with the palms as well. Then comes Vimala. Vimala is purity. And purity is in the region of the heart. And we talked about this a little detail in the last class. We spoke about unconditionality. No conditions. No conditions. No good, no bad, no judgments. No rich, no poor. The mind is conditioned today, right? You and your mind, my mind, we are all conditioned. And to a certain extent, we can accept that condition. But we cannot be bound by those conditions. That is all. We need to understand that we need to have certain conditions in place, but we are not bound by that condition. In other words, a small plant as it is growing, you have to condition it. So you tie it to a pole so that it forms permanent roots, permanent straightness. As it grows straight, the trunk is straight. There is a chance otherwise that in a storm it could tilt like this, and life will continue, and then that young plant can go into a tree that is slanting in your garden. You don't want that. So you condition the plant, go straight, and you tie the poles. But then you remove the pole, and then the plant grows on its own, enjoys the freedom. So to a certain extent, conditioning is important. But conditioning to the extent where it begins to control you and you cannot think beyond, then you're building a prison wall, and then you're stuck within that prison wall. Conditioning of culture, conditioning of where I came from, conditioning based on languages and belief systems, and all of these are conditionings. They're good to some extent, but always know that truth is far more than all these conditions. I've said this earlier as well. God is more truly imagined than expressed. He exists far more truly than can be imagined. Not my quote, it is a quote of, I believe it's anonymous. I loved it. God is more truly imagined than expressed, but he exists far more truly than is imagined. So all our conditioning cannot take us to God. We have to go beyond that. Guna atita, rupa varjita. Above qualities, above the three gunas, and above all forms. All forms. Then all of them, Jesus or Buddha or Allah or Brahman or Shiva or Sai, they're all the same. There should be no difference between them. But if you say, no, I only believe in this form, I don't want any other form, then you're stuck in that level of conditionality. Then Vimala doesn't manifest. She waits. She's patient. She's sitting there with her eyes closed. She's dormant. And therefore, that purity does not express itself. We have to go back to that innocence of a 2-year-old to experience that unconditionality. And then Vimala manifests herself in the chest. Then comes the rising sun, Aruna. We talked about Aruna, the beauty of the rising sun, the red sun. The rising sun is the forehead. The forehead is the rising sun. We talk of destiny here, right? You say, oh, karma, it's all my karma, and we point to ourselves. Some of us who are from India, we say, oh, it's all karma, and we say right here. Or there's a saying, your destiny is written on your forehead, you cannot do anything, and all of that. So, forehead, this is where the sun rises, the third eye. This is where the sun rises. When does that happen? When there is complete self-sacrifice. There seems to be an irony here. Superficially, if you look at it, there is a conflict. Do I have to sacrifice the self in order for the sun to rise? Yes. Jesus had to be crucified for Christ to be born. That is the essence of Christianity for me. Most beautiful part of the story, most powerful, most life-changing part of the story was that. Could Jesus give himself up for crucifixion, consciously, allowed himself to be crucified mercilessly? Just like Mahabharata story is in the war where Krishna tells Arjuna, it's okay, even if it's your uncles and this and that, go into the war, right? That seems very disturbing. It is the same thing because we are conditioned to think in certain patterns, right? Here again, it's the same thing. Jesus allowed himself to be whipped and crucified mercilessly, most painfully. But did the story end there? The caterpillar came to an end, the butterfly was born. Jesus died, Christ was born. That is the beauty of all of the spirituality. So let's go back to that slides and look at that forehead rising sun. When my forehead is placed, my destiny, I take it and place it at the feet of the Supreme. It could be in front of me in the form of a teacher, form of my guru. It could be a book which I hold and place my forehead on the book. It could be an altar that I place my forehead on when I bow down and place my forehead down. Across all religions, all spiritual practices, bending your head down, placing your forehead on the ground releases something. Even medical science, we say when you press this, it releases the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the relaxing nervous system, right? The sympathetic nervous system is fight or flight response. The parasympathetic is go to sleep, calm down, that kind of calming down. So when you press your forehead against the floor, even the body language understands and releases the energy that calms you down, slows you down. In spirituality, when you lay down, when Sunder puts his forehead down, the Sai within rises. Sunder has to go down for Sai to rise. It is in dying that I am born to eternal life. This is what Saint Francis of Assisi taught us. It is in dying that I am born to eternal life. So, forehead represents that great opportunity to offer ourselves so that the sun within will rise. When I offer the forehead down, the rising sun is what? The Avarana. She rises. She takes over as the rising sun. She then takes over and rewrites your destiny. Because she begins to live it. When Christ was born, Christianity spread, right? So, forehead, rising sun comes from this energy of self-sacrifice. One of the greatest lessons I learned from staying with Bhagwan Baba, whom we endearingly call Swami, is it was a life focused completely on giving, as opposed to what we are learning in education or how we live our everyday life. What am I getting out of it? Why should I do that? Where am I getting out of it? Why wasn't I consulted when you did all this? Now you are coming to me and this and that. And it's all about I, me and mine. In Baba's life, he said, what can I give you? It's about you. What do you want? What can I give you? How can I enrich your soul, your spirit? It was you. And when it came to I, it was always, what can I give? How best can I offer it? And to me, those are the values of that helps you understand the spirit of self-sacrifice. Self-sacrifice doesn't mean you have to die or be used as a doormat where everybody will walk over you and you'll say, okay, whatever you want, you all do. I don't know, who am I? Not like that. Self-sacrifice is you bring excellence into every part of your work, because if you're cooking for the family, say how better can I cook? It doesn't matter. People like it, no like it, they don't like it, kids don't like it, kids like it. It doesn't really matter. Tell them, what can I give more healthy? How can I cook more healthy? How can I make this healthy food more tastier? How can I be more creative? Focus on giving. Focus on the quality. Focus on excellence in your offering every day. Then your work, whatever that work is, becomes worship. As Baba would say, work is worship. Duty is God. Not away from it, not separate from it. That comes when we understand self-sacrifice. Sacrifice that little ego which raises its ugly head and said, but what can I do? How can I survive? And this and that. Say, let's focus on excellence. Sacrifice the individual for the cause. Sacrifice the ego for the value that needs to be held. That is what Rama did. Rama sacrificed himself and went to the forest only to become Sri Ramachandra Prabhu, the embodiment of Dharma. Ramo Vigrahan Dharmaha, we say, right? He became the very embodiment of righteousness because of self-sacrifice. Otherwise, it's impossible. It's impossible for the sun to rise without self-sacrifice. So this is Avarana. She will not rise. She will also, like Vimala and like all the others, she will also keep her eyes closed and remain dormant in us. And we live a life of illusion that somehow Sunder has to achieve this, Sunder has to do this, Sunder has to do that. And finally, Sunder really doesn't matter at all in the larger scheme of things. Sunder is a dream that comes and goes. So think of Avarana, self-sacrifice, forehead. Then comes Jainya. And once the sun rises, what else do you think will happen? There is only victory, right? There will be only victory. But that victory is expressed in the eyes. If you see a child, you will see whether there is victory in his eyes or there is weakness in his eyes. Eyes experience that. And that comes from self-confidence. You can look into somebody's eyes and you can judge their level of self-confidence. Eyes can never lie. That's why when somebody lies, they don't meet you eye to eye, right? They look down and speak, or they look here and speak, they look there and speak. And there's a whole body language and whole study of all of that. They don't look at you and you say, look at me. I want to see you. Look at me into my eyes and tell me the truth. That's what we say. Because self-confidence comes and is expressed mainly in the eye. And then it comes to all the other parts of the body, and then the body is erect and chest and all of that. That's why in public speaking, one of the most important things, but that sometimes people miss in the tips that I read in the internet when you go around, one of the greatest tips that they miss is maintain eye contact with your people. They have to look into your eyes, then they'll know that your heart is speaking to their heart. If I was not looking into the camera and speaking, and it took time for me to get used to it, but I'm not looking into a camera, I'm looking in my mind, I'm saying I'm looking into the soul, heart of another soul there, or a group of souls, and in that we all stay connected. So in that I, you get to experience Jaya, Jaya, Jayanye. That deity manifests, the Shakti manifests. And without these qualities of control, desire, joy, purity, the rising sun, and victory, we cannot go into the beyond this in the sanctum sanctorum of our spiritual growth. That is why it remains a matter of belief. And it gets reduced down to religion. And then it gets further reduced down to dogma, belief systems, traditions, culture, this, that, and we break it into pieces and pieces and pieces. All teachers, all masters, everyone's teachings, everyone's followers follow their own, they break apart, they form their own groups. It all happens because any one individual not experience this. When we experience spirituality in its fullest, then all religions, all teachers, all masters, everything comes into the arena of oneness. They all emerged from the Bindu. We have to absorb them all into the Bindu, the atom, the final dot that we will come to in the 9th Avarana. There is only one. But that all comes from this understanding, and all of that understanding is seen in the light of your eyes. It was very difficult to look into Baba's eyes when he would speak to you. It was very pleasurable, very beautiful, at the same time very difficult. There were times he would look into your eyes and talk to you, and it may not last more than 30 seconds, but in those 30 seconds it would seem like eternity has passed when he would speak. There are many moments like that I will always cherish in my heart. Sarveshwarya, Lordship. We spoke about Lordship. One of the most important things about a master, a leader, is lips. We are speaking about this in the Akasha element as well. The importance of sounds that go out of you. What control? Lips control both sound and taste. You have to taste something, you have to open your mouth. So what goes in as matter has to be controlled, and lips are the ones. You can close your lips. Even if your tongue is craving of something, you can keep your lips closed and say no. Right? So there is a certain object that can go in terms of food, and the lips have to open to get sound out. Otherwise, there'll be only a hum, which is the most soothing thing, right? A baby goes to sleep by listening to a hum because there is no meaning, but we have to speak, mouth has to open. So Lordship comes when we learn to understand the importance of lips. And that comes with self-satisfaction. Think of it. There is no craving for food. I'm satisfied. My lips are closed. There is no kind of meditation in any form, in any religion or any teaching, whether it's Buddhism, Hinduism, Sikhism, Jainism, or Christianity or Islam, wherever meditation and prayers are taught, they don't teach you to meditate with your mouth open. It's always with lips closed. Yes, chanting, prayer, that is lips open, but it's open mindfully to say certain prayers, to chant certain mantras. But otherwise the lips are closed. Lips closed means self-satisfaction. There is a sense of control there. And so, when that self-satisfaction finds its expression in you and through you, Lordship is always then established. Then you only set out to give. That's why I said in the last class, my hand is always set out to give, not to receive, Baba would say. My hand is always like this, never like this. And we all learn, as his followers, we try to learn, how can my hand be like this? How can it be like this? And therefore, this comes a lot. The Lord gives. Lordship is about giving. Because Aishwarya, let Aishwarya flow through me like the river. Constantly water flows through the banks. The river water is ever fresh. It comes when there is self-satisfaction. And finally, of course, there is the lineage. We spoke about it in the last class. Such a beautiful concept. Kaulinyai, Kaulini, Kula Yogini. She's called the Yogini of the Kulas. She is the highest lineage. There the mind has to be completely absorbed into that. We have to allow self-realization to dawn upon us that we have always had the highest lineage. I am not an Indian, you are not an American. I am not an American, you are not an Indian or an African or a European. We are none of this. The body can claim, yes, it was born here and there. But the real you and me, we are all part of that highest one consciousness. The one Shiva, the one Brahman, the one Christ. Nothing more, nothing less. That is our highest lineage. That is self-realization. Knowing it, living by that standard is self-realization. Then Kaulini manifests herself in the mind. Then your mind will always be steeped and be working from that platform of highest consciousness. It will not work or motivate you into actions from a platform of fear or greed or anxiety. You will not take decisions because you're afraid something might go wrong. You won't step out or do something or not do something because you're afraid of failure. But you will do because of inspiration, because a vision presents itself. The story of Rama is as powerful as the story of Christ, as powerful as the story of Buddha. All of these are great stories. The story of Sai is a fantastic story. A young boy in a village of Puttaparthi at the age of 13, he identifies himself with that cosmic mind. Let's keep that slide up. I think that those words have to really register in everyone's mind. The highest, he said, I am Sai. Sai means Sa, Ai, Baba. Sa means divine. Ai is mother. Baba is father. I am the divine mother and father. I am Sai Baba, he said. I am Sai Baba. Identified himself directly with the highest supreme consciousness. And then everything else followed suit. He had a life full of giving, and inspired millions of people. Not just became popular, became a source of inspiration. That is the power of a mind. When that mind is awakened to the Kaulini, that is she. If she becomes awakened, anything is possible. In Baba, all of these energies were rampant, abundant. There was Vashini, there was Kameshwari, there was Modini and Vimala and Aruna and Jaya and Sarveshwari and Kaulini. All of them were abundant in him. They can all be abundant in you as well because these are omnipresent energies. They are abundant in every cell, every atom in the universe because everything is a product of Shakti that is emerging from that consciousness, which we call it Shiva. He's lost in himself. He also doesn't know he exists till Shakti emerges and makes him aware of his own existence. That is the beauty of Shiva and Shakti. And thus we have Kaulini. All right. So we have knees, we have feet, we have palms, we have chest, we have forehead, eyes, lips, and mind. What are we getting into? How do you relate to all this? One of the greatest practices the most important of practices that was taught to us by our ancestors, by sages, by rishis, a practice that they revered, was a practice that involved 8 of these, and that was called Sa Ashta Anga Sashtanga Namaskar. The 8 limbs that needs to be offered for the divine to manifest all these Devis, for us to enter the temple, the inner sanctum sanctorum. We do the Sashta Anga, Sa Ashta Anga, the divine limbs. Anga is limbs, Ashta is 8. Namaskar is offering of that. And so you place your knees on the floor. Then you adjust your feet, so you place the toes on the floor. I wish I had a small video to demonstrate, but most of us know what Sashtanga is. If not, I'll touch upon it in the next class with a short video and proceed. I just didn't get time to shoot that. You place the feet on the floor, your knees on the floor. Then you place the palms, holding the feet of the chosen deity, of the Guru. And then you offer your chest, your pride, it goes down. It doesn't have to touch the ground, but it goes down. And you rest your forehead on his feet or her feet. Close your eyes. You internalize that experience. You kiss the feet. And you surrender. Then the energy of the Guru flows into you. The energy of the deity flows into you. There is no hardcore technique to this. Yes, we have made it kind of dogmatic, and men has to lie down fully, women should not. All of that is there, yes and no. All of that is based on practices, cultures and everything. But the core is, can I offer these 8 parts of my body to the divine? And so the sun salutations, the 6th step in the 12-step process, is Sashtanga Namaskar. That's what it is. And when we offer that, and then we rise, after that step, everything is coming and rising back in the Surya Namaskar. So the sun salutations in a yoga practice becomes a very powerful offering of Sashtanga. These 8 energies have a chance to express themselves in us. And when they express, all of the other energies in the Sri Chakra begin to open. That is why Sashtanga is the complete offering of yourself to the divine, allowing the divine. That is how mindful we should be when we do the Sashtanga Namaskar, for those of us who follow that practice. Otherwise, just mindlessly falling down, getting up and thinking, oh, this is a good exercise and all of that, then it will just be an exercise. But imagine and think and begin to understand that every part of my body that is being offered has a Devi that is releasing that Shakti, and she is manifesting herself. And they then open the doors to the inner sanctum sanctorum. Sashtanga Namaskar is therefore complete surrender. Let us end this satsang with a beautiful bhajan that I learned from my mother-in-law, who is staying with us now. It was composed by Maya's grandmother. A very beautiful raga malkons. She sang Daya Karo Durga Devi. And so on the eve of June 9th, which is our 4th anniversary tomorrow of KYG, we started this officially in June 2018. 2019 was the first one, 20, 21 and 22. So on the eve, tomorrow is just going to be a regular day, but on the eve of that 4th anniversary, I would like to offer this bhajan for all your pleasure. Because at this point in Sri Chakra, we allow ourselves and seek the divine grace. So let us listen to that bhajan and bring this satsang to a close. Om Shri Matre Namaha. 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 Daya karo he Durga Devi, Durita Nivarini Dayamayi. Daya करो हे दुर्गा देवी, दुरित निवारिणी दयामयी. ओम श्री मात्रे नमः. 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 दया करो हे दुर्गा देवी, दुरित निवारिणी दयामयी. महिषदमनी महामयी. महिषदमनी महामयी. माधव सोदरी मनोहरी. माधव सोदरी मनोहरी. मंगलकारिणी माहेश्वरी. मंगलकारिणी माहेश्वरी. महिमावतारिणी साईश्वरी. महिमावतारिणी साईश्वरी. सत्य साईश्वरी. ओम श्री मात्रे नमः. ओम श्री मात्रे नमः. ओम श्री मात्रे नमः. दया करो हे दुर्गा देवी, दुरित निवारिणी दयामयी. महिषदमनी महामयी. माधव सोदरी मनोहरी. मंगलकारिणी माहेश्वरी. महिमावतारिणी साईश्वरी. महिमावतारिणी साईश्वरी. सत्य साईश्वरी. ओम श्री मात्रे नमः. 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 समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु. समस्तलोकाः
सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु Om. May all the beings in all the worlds be happy. Jai bolo pavan sut hanuman ki jai. सियावर रामचंद्र की जय. सतगुरु साईनाथ महाराज की जय. नमः पार्वती पतये हर हर महादेव. ओम शांति शांति शांति.